Hi, this is Jeff Mesnick with the Channel Marketing Journal, and again, we're here in Las Vegas, and I'm really excited to be here with Larry Walsh from 2112 Group.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we can spend the time. I know it's been a busy conference.
It's Vegas. It's exhausting. It's just throw it out there. It's like, if there's a short way to get there, it ain't here.
Right.
So,
I know, the walking, it's like, even just from the showroom floor to the conference, it's like 4 levels.
I want those motor scooters that they have out in San Francisco. They should have them here.
Yeah.
At least for us. I mean, otherwise we could always steal one of those scooters with the oxygen carts,
Right.
our tanks on it. Yeah, but yeah, it's our moving sidewalk. We need something else here.
Well, during the conference, we're hearing a lot of marketers speak. We're hearing a lot of channel sales folks speak. So one of the things that I'd like to know is channel marketing it's a challenging job, but there's sometimes mistakes that almost every channel marketer makes.
Yeah.
And you've seen it, you've been around it for a while. So what do you see as some of the mistakes, the classic mistakes that they make over and over again?
Yeah, okay, let's do this without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So something that they do wrong, and they really shouldn't, is that they want to make it about them only. So many channel marketers, and it's endemic to channel organizations or vendor organizations, that it's an inside out approach in communications. We have to tell the partners how great our product is, how great our programs is, how committed we are, and why the customer needs us, rather than being empathetic towards the partner and trying to say, well, why is the partner? What is it we want the partner to do? How do we engage the partners? Why would the partner want to engage with us?
Right.
So they need to stop looking at themselves from an inside, or operating from an inside-out perspective. Something else that they do is they tend to think monolithically. That we have either these types of partners, we have VARs, we have MSPs, we have ISVs, we have SIs, and we need to work around those constructs. Or they treat them all uniformly. Said, oh, here we got to communicate to our partners, and really they need to understand that there are nuances. That a VAR is not a VAR. A VAR is also an MSP.
Right.
A VAR is also a systems integrator. They're not one type of partner. In fact, many partners have multiple types of partners, and they don't all perform or speak the same language. And marketers tend to think about, because we have to. I mean, channel programs are about homogeny.
Right.
It's that we have to create these programs, otherwise we're going to have bespoke agreements and nothing will get done.
Right. So that brings us to, so obviously they're not thinking about the partners and their unique businesses.
No. Right.
They're not really taking into account that their business is not their, the partner's business is unique, and the VAR and the vendor doesn't, just because they have all the money and all the product doesn't mean that they have to push and shove their message down their throat.
Well, yeah, there's that. I think that there's it's more of how do you engage together?
Right.
And we're really talking. I say this all the time. We're fighting over 10% of the partners.
Right.
At any given moment, that we're really there. The top 10% always self-identify. We don't have to worry about them. There's 80% we don't care about.
Yeah.
There's 10% that really is that we have to fight over, and we have to figure out what to do with them. And those are the ones that we really have to form relationships with. And that's not just a marketing function. That means internally having teaming agreements and partnerships with your peers, your channel account managers, your directors of operations and enablement,
right.
Your corporate marketing. You will all have to work together to form that to nurture that relationship with the partners, and the partners will reciprocate.
So let's talk about some of the vendors that might be doing this well. I mean, I've interviewed a few of the channel chiefs, and I have seen, I've heard a few of them at least talk about the outreach and the going out there and the meeting and the engagement and building relationships. What have you seen as some of the things that, are done well? Like someone's really done this well, knocked it out of the ballpark.
Well, it's contextual.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at it from what is the mission of the vendor, what is it that they're trying to accomplish, what's their model, and that will really dictate how well their programs, their channel relationships work.
Right.
If you look at a company like SolarWinds,
mm-hmm.
that inherited a community system through the various acquisitions, Logic Now, that came out of um, um, kind of lose level platforms.
Right.
Yeah, so I matriculated up from that. But I mean, they that community system does very well to engage with their MSP partners.
Yeah.
ConnectWise does the same thing. ConnectWise's communities are hugely valuable. Now, is that practical for all vendors? No.
Right.
Cisco has a great mechanism. They have it's not a program that makes a difference. It's a culture. They have a tremendous culture that values the partners, and they form the relationships. And then when we ask in our research, what channel programs or which vendors do you admire for the execution of the channel programs, Cisco's always in the top of the list. They're always in the top 5.
Right.
So I mean, there's different mechanisms for doing it. It really comes down to is that it's hard not to screw this up.
Right.
I actually think that you have to work hard to screw up a channel relationship. And it is because you can become, if you're apathetic, if you're inconsistent,
Right.
if you're rapidly changing all the time and reacting, haphazardly, then yeah, you will get inconsistent results from the partners. But if you're programmatic, hence why we call them channel
Yep.
programs, and you map them out for a long term, then
Right.
you'll get that execution and that synergy.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember years ago, I'm not going to name the vendor, but I was talking to a vendor and they're like, well, we're struggling with our partner community. We just went back from a direct model to a partner model. And we did that once before where we switched on and off. Now our partners just don't trust us. And I'm like,
Imagine that.
right. And this wasn't a small company. This was a pretty large company. And they're having this conversation with me. And I had to have the honest dialogue and say, you've got to work very hard now.
Love me, please.
Right.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
No, it happens. But that's the thing is that we can say a lot of things about partners.
Yeah.
And not positively. I mean, I don't mean to go negative on
Yeah.
this, but look, if I had to pick a business partner, a lot of these companies that we deal with wouldn't be it.
Right.
But they do have things that the vendors need.
Yeah.
The one thing they do though is that even if they're not performing well, they're not, the partner isn't consistent, the partner is not investing,
Yep.
go down the litany of things. You cannot violate that trust.
Right. That's the number
And
one
they
thing.
will always remember that, and they will pass that along to their next generation, subsequent generations. You can't look. We're now 12 years into Dell being a channel program, and you still
Right.
hear partners saying, "Oh, you can't trust Dell because they're direct."
Right.
No, that's not true.
Right.
But you have to know how to work with Dell, and Dell still has to fight that legacy.
Still that perception.
Yeah.
And that perception is tough. It's interesting, though, one of the things you said is kind of the partners. You don't always want this. The partners and the vendors, they're not always matched up, but they're selling each other's stuff and working together. I had a conversation earlier with the gentleman who talked about brand.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting concept he brought up, and I'm curious what your take on this, and it could be just like, well, this is, pie in the sky type stuff. But he was like, well, if we did a brand exercise with the partner at the partner ecosystem, we could actually quickly define who the right partners are for us to be working with and who might not be, and then focus in that angle. What do you say to that? I'm catching you off guard. I know.
No. It's not that at all. I'm just trying to think about how wrong he is. No, he's not wrong. I mean, I say that sarcastically. No,
Yeah.
he's not wrong. One of the issues that we've identified is what we call brand supremacy.
Right.
Vendors want to have brand supremacy.
Right.
All right, and so they want their brands to permeate through their channels. Now, it's easy to say, well, shouldn't it be that way? If you go into a supermarket, you can see all the brands of foods there, and you recognize them for what they are.
Right.
You don't do the same thing with other more complex products or durable goods. For instance, the neat little game I like to play sometimes is asking people what kind of car do they drive.
Right.
And you can tell me, you drive a Ford, you drive a BMW, it doesn't matter, and say,
Yeah.
okay, besides the tire, tell me who manufactured the parts that go into that car.
Right.
And you can't.
Right.
And the only reason why I say except tires is because tires are visible.
Right.
All right. For that reason, the vendors impose their brands or that brand supremacy on their partners, and it takes a lot for a partner to develop an independent brand identity. They have to work hard at that.
Yeah.
And if and this is, I talk about mistakes. Vendors want really strong partners until they're strong.
Right.
And if a partner has too much influence, has too much control, has the ability to push back, that's when vendors get really edgy about it because they don't want to surrender that supremacy.
Right. That's interesting stuff. Well, I really appreciate this. This has been a fabulous conversation, and I'm sure the listeners will really enjoy
Yeah,
this.
readers, if you can read this video, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
No, hey, Jeff, thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right.